Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to the craft/dining room. You have found yourself in another installment of New Stencil, Now What? In the past, it's been called New Stamps, Now What, but I got a stencil, so you good? We're on the same page? The only web series wherein a middle-aged crafter takes something I've never used before and, well, I'm gonna use it. Just what we're gonna do. And as I said, today I've got a stencil. Will it be a hot mess? Or will it be amazing? To find out, stick around. The video is coming up next. So here's a look at the stencil that I am using today. This is from Picket Fence Studio. Let's go ahead and get this out. It is called Field of Snowy Trees. Now, when I saw this, I was doing a little window shopping at Simon Says Stamp, and I purchased this, quite a while ago. I mean, it's been sitting in my craft space, just kind of staring at me, saying, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Kath? And that's the question we're gonna answer today. So I think it's beautiful. I think this would be wonderful for, obviously, a holiday card, but also just general winter. So that's the stencil, okay? Slide you over. I am going to create a winter sky, so I thought I would do that with a little Distress Oxides. Now, I haven't been using my Distress Oxides lately. I kind of go in cycles, and so we're going to cycle in and make a winter sky with these colors. I think that will be nice. Then I am going to make the trees white, and I'm going to use a pigment ink for this because I want there to be some level of opacity. Wait, the word opacity is so confusing to me. I don't want it to be super see-through, if that makes sense. So my trees are going to be white, and I got that going for me. Now, I think for my greeting on the front of the card, I'm going to take an older product of mine, and actually, I will be sure to put a card up in the corner if you want to see another project I did, like a while ago with this die. I love this die. This is just a simple, joyful, right? Word and shadow layer. And I think I'm going to use that for my greeting, but I'm not exactly sure yet. You know how this series goes, right? Even though this is a stencil this time, we don't know what's going to happen. Hot mess, or will we cue an angel choir? Well, I invite you to stick around and find out. All right, we're going to move on. I'm going to use a piece of Neenah Solar White Classic Crest in the 110-pound weight. I just thought this would be nice and sturdy for all of the ink blending. Now, here's the thing. I'm probably going to cut this down a little bit before I make the final card, but for right now, we're going to start with this panel, and we're going to start with ink blending. Now, I think I'm going to start with Seedless Preserves, and let's see, Chipped Sapphire is the darkest, and Blueprint Sketch. Now I want to show you, I've got a few blender brushes here, so I'm going to pull out my pink one for this. And you know, little hot tip, I actually have started putting my blender brushes in my dishwasher on the upper top shelf. It seems to work great. I don't know if I'm damaging them, but so far they seem to work well. But I do keep brushes for specific tasks. So these are just for oxides or pigments, right? And then I have ones for dyes too. So let's see if I can, there we go, get you off there. I'm going to get started. And so what I'm going to do here is load up my brush. Okay, and actually I want to get a little purple tape or post-it note handy so that I have something for my fingers so that I don't mess stuff up. All right. We're just going to start here at the bottom, and I'm just going to blend on some purple. Oh my gosh, I always forget how gorgeously dark oxides are, right? And that's the thing. If you're looking for intense coverage, oxides are kind of the way to go. Plus, you know, they do amazing things with water, and they're just cool. They're just very cool. So I think a little purple here is going to be nice for my base, okay? And again, this could turn into a hot mess because you know that, right? You know, that's how this series is. I don't know. I have an idea in my brain, and we're going to have to see if it works. You know, the other thing too is one thing that I try not to do. I try not to look at samples that have been done with the product when I'm first getting started, because I want to see if I can come up with something that's going to work. I think there's a challenge in that for me, and I like that challenge, so yeah, that's how we're doing it. All right, I think my pad feels a little dry. I do have the re-inkers for many of my Oxide pads. I haven't used but a few. I think the only Oxide re-inker I've used is Twisted Citron, and that's because that's the color I use more than any other color. I love that color. Lime green. It's my signature, friends. Well, it's not really my, I can't back that up, but all right. So I'm just going to kind of go over the area here to kind of blend those together. And I'll probably just keep going. I mean, I'll just keep going until I think it looks good. But I always forget how dark that is, and that is very dark. Okay. I'm going to move on to Chipped Sapphire. Ooh. Okay, this is the darker. Now here's where I don't want my fingers to get mucky. You can take a Post-it note or another piece of paper, but I'll just have my fingers on here so I don't get fingerprints. Again, because of the Oxide properties that are, well, they stay fluid longer. I was gonna say they stayed moist. That's not what I meant to say. Well, actually I just said it, so there you go. How many of you out there like to make the winter skies? I do think they're some of my favorites. And again, will this turn out? It's hard to say. And the other thing I wondered too, like as I'm filming this live, and of course, we cut it down a little here. And by we, I mean just me sitting at my computer with iMovie. I'm that high tech. I always wonder, like, so far in this series, whether it's New Stamps Now What, or in this case, New Stencil Now What, I haven't had something go so wrong that I had to bail on the video. Does that make sense? So the good news is, so far, I'm batting, is it 1,000? I really don't know my baseball terminology, but so far I haven't had any issues with what I create really going south. So we'll see. I'm not sure how I feel about this right now, but there will be some drying involved. So I think while we are drying, because the oxides really do need to be dry. This Chipped Sapphire though, is that it? Yeah, it's such a cool color. This really does feel like a night sky to me. All right. I'm going to add more of the Seedless Preserve, but we got to let it dry a little. And so I think I don't know if I'm going to move on to the greening. And see, that is the beauty of editing, is that I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. We're not creating much of a blend. Because I can have time to let this dry and I can completely walk away, which is what I'm going to do. All right. Yeah, okay. Coming in like that. And I kind of want to get more in that area, so I'm going to go back to my blueprint sketch. Take a little more. It's such a bright, pretty color, and I'm just going to come over here because I don't need all that purple, right? And I always do my ink blending. I do have a media mat, but I always forget about it, and I shouldn't forget about it because it's an awesome tool. But I have this cheap gray paper. I guess I ordered a whole ream of it, and oftentimes I just grab that. All right, so what we have here, that is my winter sky panel. And now we're going to let it dry. We're going to let it dry because, as you can imagine, I'm going to be adding trees to the front of this panel. Huh? Well, we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I'm going to put my stuff away, dry, and when we come back, we're going to move on to the next step. I would do the die cutting first here, but I don't know what color I want to use, and I want to walk you through that process as well because I don't know what's going to look good on here, and I may change my mind. So Distress Oxides dry, and then we'll be back. So I've jumped ahead here and placed my stencil, taping it down with some purple tape. I actually have some of the new Thermoweb purple tape and some of the old stuff. It's just a little bit lower tack, I guess. So let's get this nice and straightened out here. All right, now I'm going to get brush that I have used before with Oxide, or not Oxides, with my pigment inks that are white. And this is the only one I have. This is my Gina K ink. Now wish me luck, because this may or may not work. But actually, you know what? I'm going to do it like this, because my table that I craft on is a 130-year-old farm table that was my husband's grandmother's table. And he just loves this table so much. But the problem is, if I'm doing stuff like this live, see how the table vibrates? Drives me cuckoo kukaya. So I'm not going to do that, but here we go. Oh my gosh, I hope this works. Pressing down on the stencil, and I'm going to just press into the space with the white pigment ink. Now, you want to hold the stencil in place when you're doing this, just because, you know, you don't want it to slip. And the pigment ink is a little, you know, it's a little thicker. It's a little thicker. But we're just going to do it. I'm going to put this in here, and I'm going to do a few rounds of it because I really do want this to be as white as possible, right? I want the opacity to be, is it low or high? I think, so opacity is a word kind of like nonfiction. You know what I mean? You know, I don't know. Oh, now I'm getting a little purple on the pad, and that's okay because I think I can clean that pad off, but I didn't expect my Oxide to pick up quite like that. So I think I better be careful. I'm sure it'll all come off. But opacity reminds me of nonfiction. When I was a kid, it was so confusing to me, that term, because I thought, wait, if it's true, why would you, do you know what I'm saying? There are just those kind of words. Nonfiction was one of them, and opacity is another one for me that I get confused. And you know, maybe I'll just go like that. Okay. It's all going to be okay. We can get some of that purple off. But again, I didn't know that was going to happen. Can you see it in there? Yeah, it's going to be fine. Okay. Let's keep going. Now this is a little bit more delicate here. So again, I just want to be gentle as I'm laying it down, because I don't want to go underneath the stencil, if that makes sense. I just kind of, so sometimes I think you just kind of press like that, kind of just tap it in. And actually, maybe I should just do these points at the top first, because those are less delicate, right? Okay. I still think this is going to be cute. Now, there are other things you could do here too. You could take like a texture paste of some kind, right? Come through and add like is it three-dimensional? You could add some sort of texture paste and create something kind of cool, right? With the stencil. Sometimes you can notice it starts to get a little goopy, and you just kind of blend it out. You know, just kind of keep going. But again, I'm just going to keep going over like that until I get it nice and as white as I can. But I think having a little see-through, so having a little bit of opacity could be kind of cool, right? Because look at that. You can kind of see it almost creates like an ombre look. Okay. But again, I'm going to keep going because I think this will be cute. I'm going to press. And actually, you know what's kind of cool about the pressing? It actually creates almost like a textury flocked look. Who knew? Look at me. Inventing new techniques, and yeah, we'll wipe that down. It's going to be okay. Actually, that's kind of cool. I think I will do that on all of them, because that also allows me to go straight in and press that color in without going underneath. So now you can kind of see over there. That's pretty cool. All right, let's get this over here. Look at that. That even looks more snowy. Can you see that? Can you see that? You know, whenever I say that, I think of that scene in Elf when Will Ferrell has the big burp, which is gross. I really hate burp humor, but after the long drawn out scene, he says, "Did you hear that?" Oh, it's my favorite holiday movie. Again, you can just keep going, right? But I think we're ready to peel and reveal. So, peel you back. Now, should we take a look? Oh, white all over. I'm gonna have to wash my hands. We're gonna lift and reveal. Hold on here. It's very exciting, shall we? Okay. Oh, that's pretty cute. That is pretty cute. You know what I'm gonna do? No, I'm not going to. I'm gonna just peel this off like this. Okay, I don't want to touch too much with my hands. There, that's cute. Huh? Okay, I'm gonna go wash off the stencil. I'm going to go take, I'm also gonna take just a cloth and kind of go over that a little bit to try to get some of the purple off. And then I'm going to splatter on some snow. So that's gonna be our next step. So I've got my box. This is just a shallow box from Simon Says Stamp that my products come in. And I'm going to use some of this Amsterdam fluid acrylic ink. Of course, you could use white gouache. You could use white acrylic paint, but because I think this is actually a fluid acrylic. Anyway, I learned about this stuff a long time ago from my friend Laura. And I'm just going to use not a toothbrush today, because I tried a toothbrush, but I think I'm going to tap with some of this. But do I need liquid on this? No, I don't think so. This is pretty liquid. So here's what I'm going to do. Ooh, open it up. And I'm just going to put a bunch onto that bad boy. I'm going to saturate my brush here like that, right? Just get it. And I'm going to test it a little, because if I go, yeah, that's good. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to start tapping to get some snow onto, because the thing I like about this acrylic paint, it's thicker, or it's more opaque. That's the word I'm looking for. Now I'm going to have to let it all dry, and that's fine. Plus, I did want the snow to be on the trees as well. So again, I'm just tapping. Just a light tap and getting those nice random, very cute. Very, 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 very cute. And you can do as much snow as you want, right? I like this. Oh my goodness, this is looking really good. Look at that. I'm going to keep maybe a little more down here. And I think this is good. I don't think we're getting any on our phone as we're filming. Okay, so this now also has to dry completely, and we can start talking about, oh my goodness, I have drops that actually went all over the place. I'm going to clean up on the outside of the box, and then I'll be right back as we discuss the greeting for this card. So I decided to set up a camera just to show you where my Gemini is. I don't haul it over to my table because there's no available plug-in and I don't have a cable long enough because I live in a really old house. So we just die cut over on the shelf, over on my shelf. Now I'm not sure why, but I'm having some issues getting my dies popped out here. So let's yeah, maybe I have my sandwich set up wrong, but normally my Gemini cuts like a dream, actually. And I'm missing one of my dots for the eyes, so I'm going to have to go cut that too. I want to stack 3 joyfuls together. Now, I am rolling the dice here, and I'm going to assume that doing this word in white is going to be a great look for this card. But that got bent a little. Oh, no. Well, you know what? That could be a bottom layer. Someone told me once too, like, I think if you do like a dryer sheet or something with your dies, that can help. I don't know. I don't know at all. I need to go ahead and get another tittle here. Such a funny word, but yeah. And then I'm going to kind of, well, let me get my tittle, and then we're going to start gluing these together while we think. Now this one popped out the best, so that's going to go on top, but I want to show you little hairs. Can you see the little hairs, like where it didn't cut perfectly? I tend to do this. I take a little purple tape, right? Just kind of, well, did I get enough here to double it up and over? Yeah, I think so. Like this. Just put a little on my finger, and I kind of just go over, oh, my dies gently. You don't want to go crazy because it will pick up what I call the die hairs. And as we all know, it's just paper. But that's just for, if your cuts are leaving a few little stragglers, you can do that, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So it's a little little tip of mine. I will put up a link to the original tip video from whence this came. I've been card making now since, well, I guess 2017. And it is surprising how once you kind of get your sea legs, as it were, you kind of go to your own little tips and tricks. And so, oh, that just came undone. So that video shares some of mine. All right, we'll just do a few more of these. Do a little cleanup. And I am going to use my spray adhesive, my Big Daddy spray adhesive. I just have a big one. I'm going to do this and I'm going to spray it in the box just like I flicked, but I'm not going to film that part because I like to really hold my breath and be away. But I'm going to lay down some adhesive so that I can glue all of these together. And the tittle I will save until I figure out what I'm going to do and whether or not I'm going to use a shadow layer. So spray, and then we'll start adhering all these together. So I'm keeping the nice one for the very top. I'm keeping the one that got a little bent for the bottom. And then I'm just going to, well, let's see. I'm going to try to get my head over the top. I'm actually not as good at this as I want to be. I'm getting better. Like, you want it to line up really quick and easy, but I'm telling you, it's taken me a while to get good at this. I have done so many poorly aligned die cuts. True story. I didn't know that people did this. And the thing that is so amazing about doing this is the applications for other areas of crafting, like scrapbooking. Like, you can create, you know, dimensional elements for scrapbook pages too, just by gluing die cuts together. I never knew this. And I have been crafting since, well, 2002. So stacking die cuts, revelation for me. And another thing that I like to do, again, it's just if you're not getting the cleanest cut, you can take, you know, I take my little tweezers, and if you see any little paper stragglers, just kind of go over them like that, and then you're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this bad boy, and then again, I'm going to marinate on the tittle because I'm still not sure what we're doing with this. So glue this, and then we will proceed with designing the rest of the card. So let's bring in this panel. Isn't this cute? It's pretty much dry. I think it's mostly dry. So let's pop it in and let's imagine like that's our card. I just almost don't want to trim it down. I mean, would you trim this down? I don't know. I think it's just so sweet. And what if I just did like a joyful off to the side, like an offset? But see now, okay, I'm just going to pop that right there. Now as I place that here, and I do think the minimal aspect of not having any sort of shadow layer with it is, or, you know, the shadow layer that goes with it. I could do vellum, but I feel like it takes away kind of from the peaceful aspect of it. So now I wonder, do I want to trim this down? And I'm going to show you something. Let me grab a piece of white cardstock. I do this a lot before I commit because then you can kind of imagine what it would look like with that little bit of white framing space on the card. Then it kind of ties it together. You can kind of see that, right? So if I did trim this down a little bit, I would have this beautiful, you know, little offset, that beautiful bit of white. Or it could just be a card panel on its own. But you kind of see how it's stronger with a little bit of white, because then we get our elements of repetition, right? We repeat the frame of what will be the card base with the white of the die cut. So simple. I like this. This is my most favorite die set, I swear, of all time, because I use it on so many cards. And, you know, I probably could have done this first, right? But I didn't, like, trim it down first. I didn't because I knew I wanted to ink blend, you know, and I didn't want to have anything get in the way of a full-size panel. But I think if I take, this is probably my most used size, and honestly, I don't know what size it is. Let's measure it, shall we? This one, it's 5 by 3 3/4. 5 by 3 3/4. Of course, you know what? I could just cut this too. because right now I don't know. Well, this does look dry. Okay, so what we would do here is I would see, I think that's trimming off too much tree. So maybe I really do want to come up one more. That's what I love about this set. And true story, I have the perfecting set as well. I don't think it's called the perfecting set, but what it is, it's every other size. So you have all the way down, and I'll link both of them. They're separate sets. One is the basic and one is the, like I like to call it, the perfecting set, because it gives you every possible cut that you could do. Now, if I go down here, then I get more tree. And I really do want to preserve as much purple as possible. I think I'm going to use that size, although let me go on the back. And let's just see what the difference is with the perfecting set. See, this comes in just a hair more. So actually, is that what I want to do? If I come in a hair more, I'm torn. If I come in a hair more, I get a little more of a card base, but I don't know if I need that. Got to make the clicky noises. Yeah, okay. I think we're going to go with that one, because then we're going to get a card base that basically almost has the same width of the letters themselves. I think that's what we're going to do. All right, flipping you over. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut this panel on my Gemini Jr, and then we'll come back and we'll build the card. I have to show you this because this is something that normally might not make it on camera. My ink was not dry. So I'm going to go wash that off really quick. That's what, it didn't affect the look of the cut panel, but that can happen. So now it's time to do our card base. Let's get you off to the side here. This is going to be a landscape card, right? We'll come in right here at this guy. The 4 1/4 mark, like that. I'm going to get my other bone folder, because this one is just easier for me to manipulate. This is the one area in card making right now that still kind of hurts my wrist. If I were to go like that, I can't do that. It hurts. So going on the side here with this nice Teflon bone folder, that's pretty nice here. I will also take a little bit of my new purple tape, double it up, because I'm going to need my card base to stay flat while I am trying to adhere this panel. It's one of the things I'm kind of a stickler for. It needs to be flat. So let's see if that purple tape will hold it down. I'm going to cut myself some foam tape, and I'm just going to flip this over here really quick. And I'm going to open you up like that. This is how I measure it. I just sort of look and then figure out where it is. And then I cut. Such powerful. Did I get it right? No, I'm a little off. I think it's the nerves of doing it while I'm actually building the card. There we go. Now, of course, you can use fun foam for this, right? Much cheaper. I just don't have much fun foam, and you know, I buy this tape in bulk. I don't necessarily, well, it's not cheap. There's not like a bulk price for it. It is not cheap stuff. So, you know, but it's one of those areas in my life that I like to splurge. If you saw my wardrobe, you would understand why I buy this. This is living in the lap of luxury for me. Okay, let's flip this over. Let's remove the foam tape from the back. Boop. 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 Love my boops. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up over I'm actually standing up over my phone and looking down and just trying to visualize on all 4 sides. And when I think I've got it, press. That's it. The next thing we have to do is we have to put the joyful on. Now, I think I'm going to use a liquid glue for this. Here's why. Sometimes I want to have just a little tiny bit more wiggle room. What is that on there? There's a little piece of schmutz on there, so I'm just going to go like this. There we go. If you don't have a mono sand eraser, they're really wonderful for just, you know, getting a little well, getting little pieces of schmutz out. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I am going to, let's see, get my liquid glue started first. And I'm just going to, oh, let's see here. Just going to start putting a few little dollops on the back. Okay, that's enough. And now I actually wish that I had picked it up from a different angle. I am going to go off to the side and the front because I think that's cool. I want my descenders, the part of the letter that drops down is called a descender. I want the space here to be about the same as the space to the right of the serif of the letter. And let's pop this down like that. I think that's going to be fine. And just make sure that the bodies of the letters are lined up, and they are. And I'm going to press. Now, while this is adhering, I'm going to give you a quick topography lesson. How's that sound? As I told you, in a letter form, the little letter part that dips down is called the descender. The parts that go above are called the ascenders. This is considered the X height of the font, so the body of the font, right? Isn't that fun to know? Now you can drop that at your next Trivial Pursuit night that you're doing online, because I know you're all doing it. Anyway, so the other thing I want to point out about this font, this is a style of type that I've used for tons of dies at Simon. It's called a slab serif. Why a slab serif? Well, because the actual little feet and the little things like that, minus the little swoop-de-doos there, they tend to be more squared off. So it's not a true 100% slab serif, but the squareness of these little serifs, as they are called, makes it a slab serif. So I'm just going to get that going on there, and now we will adhere the tittle, and it will be easier to do this because if you don't have to stack them on each other, you just stack them here. So I'll just pick this up, but also make sure when you're picking up your tittles that you put down the right side of the die cut. I just like to make sure that I have the beveled part of the tittle in place, if that makes sense. I have accidentally put them upside down. And you know, the world didn't stop, but let's be real. I mean, it could have. Okay. And here, I'll just drop it onto that liquid glue, hold it in place with my fingernail. Just kind of wiggle that. Oh gosh, it's moving all over the place now. We cannot have problems with the tittle stacking. Well, we might. Clucking also helps. Booping and clucking. Now, you know what? I can't seem to pick that one up, so I'm going to go like that. These reverse tweezers are also really great for stuff like this. It's just, you know, it's whatever you have that works. And that's going to work just fine. Set that there and put that on and let it completely dry. Oh my gosh. Oh, that is so cute. I mean, I think it's joyful. You know, this is simple, right? You got to see it. You got to see the simplicity here, because this is something that, you know, you watch the ink blending. One of the things that's nice about the oxides, even though my ink blending might have looked a little shoddy at the start, they kind of smooth out, right? And, you know, does it make sense to have a foreground that's completely purple? I don't know, but I think this turned out really good. Oh my gosh. This is joyful, and card making should be joyful. So I hope this inspired you to take a look at your stencil stash and think, okay, I've got some stencils sitting around. Now what? That's pretty cute, right? That turned out really cute. Oh, makes me so happy. So again, new stencil, now you know what. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.